Hello and welcome. I am Radhika Iyer, and yes, you've guessed it right. I'm coming to you from the very central, buzzing and absolutely alive Oxford Street in the United Kingdom's capital city, London. This is a street that is most visited here in London. Across Oxford Street, per day, there are 500,000 visitors. Per day, you heard me right. And London Mayor Sadiq Khan has decided that this street is going to be banned of traffic that you see behind me. There's only going to be pedestrians, more pedestrians, and a walking entertainment shopping zone. What does that mean for the economy of Britain? What does it mean for shops around Oxford Street? What does it mean for Londoners? This is what we will explore over the next few minutes on this very special edition of Out of Britain. Oxford Street, Britain's jewel in the crown of its retail sector, is likely to be free of traffic. Labour Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, announced that a little over 1 kilometre of the arterial Oxford Street, home to some of the best retail shops in Europe, will be free for pedestrians only. From Marble Arch to Oxford Circus, we'll have no vehicles plying on it, a move which is facing opposition within days of announcement. So what is the plan? As part of the 150 million project, the plan is to ban traffic. The project is aimed at helping the retail sector revive after big names such as Debenhams, House of Fraser, Topshop shut shop. Robbie, who has been selling memorabilia on Oxford Street since he was 34, thinks it is a bad idea. Change is hard to adapt to, and buses bring in more people, he feels. Imam, a Bangladeshi who sells Dutch pancakes on the street, has mixed opinions. Access for all is a concern, but more pedestrian space means more time spent by shoppers and tourists. So that means more business, he feels. I spoke to some people to get their reaction to Sadiq Khan's plot for London's most famous high street. Students really form the heart and the life in central London. And with me are two students, one from the University of Exeter, and Caitlin, welcome, and one from the University of Warwick. Welcome, Mehek.
Yes.
Mehek, you're a Londoner. You've been here for your life.
Yeah, I've been born and brought up in London, but my parents are from India.
Tell me, did you shop 30 times in 1 year on Oxford Street?
Definitely not.
No.
Probably a couple times a year maximum. I think maybe when I was younger, we came here a bit more, but now it's not so much of a regular spot for shopping, definitely.
What does Oxford Street mean to you?
Much the same, actually, I think. It's ever since I've been young, I've been here occasionally. There's lots of shops and beautiful lights, and especially Christmas time. It really lights up.
Yeah.
Although recently, same as Mehek, it's been so busy and so hectic. It's not necessarily like a relaxed shopping destination.
So this move or this intent by the London mayor to make it more pedestrian friendly and ban traffic, comments? Good idea, bad idea?
I mean, I think the idea itself sounds good. Like, I imagine if there's more space for people to walk around, then I think it might be a more enjoyable shopping experience for the regular consumer. In terms of how it is for businesses on the street, I don't know if it's feasible, but as a consumer, I think it might make the experience a bit more enjoyable.
I'm coming to you from central London, and with me is Deepak Ahuja, who lives in central London, and not just central London, but lives in and around Oxford Street.
Yes.
I have no idea what life would be living around Oxford Street, but I'm going to find out. But first tell me, what does Oxford Street mean to you?
To me, Oxford Street is the heart of London that epitomizes what we know about London. It's brilliant, it's vibrant, it's multicultural, it's like a 24/7 street. And it's what I call it the heartthrob of London. That's what Oxford Street means to me. I must mention, pedestrianizing a street does not necessarily mean it's good for the environment. It's got a fallout effect on the neighboring streets. I personally am not too sure whether the streets around it can accommodate the traffic. Also, you've got to keep in mind it's completely residential outside of Oxford Street. You've got Mayfair, Marylebone, Fitzrovia, Soho. And there are businesses that service these residents. A lot of them are small restaurants, small businesses with cafes on the footpaths that get affected if you've got a spillover of traffic. You've got churches, you've got schools, you've got communities, and now all of a sudden you're going to have big red buses and black cabs and speeding cars through there. So one's got to think through. And it's about businesses on Oxford Street that need actually cars coming to them. For example, a lot of the businesses are high-end stores, and most of the clientele will come in a car, prefer to come in a car. You're going to have deliveries. Right now, they happen in the middle of the night, which doesn't bother anyone. But if you're going to stop cars, I just think it may not necessarily be the best solution. It has to be thought through, and you have to think through the impact of pollution on the neighboring roads. You're just shifting a problem from one road to the other. So I'm not completely sold on this idea.
Gautam Krishna, who is a London resident, is with me. Gautam, you've lived in London all the time, like always.
It feels like it. I think since university, definitely. So since the late 1990s.
Okay, great. A good 3 decades and more. Quick reactions. Sadiq Khan's idea, good or bad?
Do you know, I think it's a great idea. Oxford Street is in disrepair. We as Londoners, I don't know when was the last time I went down Oxford Street. It's a great tourist spot. So we should make it more livable, more practical for tourists. Similar to, the nice areas of Barcelona or Spain, we should make London more practical for tourists. We've got the great new Elizabeth Beacon line. So let's give them a little promenade to walk around in, similar to Covent Garden. So I think it's a great idea.
The mayor has huge claims of his pedestrianized avenue giving competition to Times Square in New York, Champs-Élysées in Paris, and La Rambla in Barcelona. The opposition Conservative Party, which pulled out support to a similar move in 2018, has started ridiculing the move already. So the idea may witness brakes being applied before traffic is fully banned. And in the second half of this special edition, we also have the storytelling skills and the consultancy that London is going to offer, not from Sadiq Khan, but from the City of London Corporation, to India's different cities, Tier 2, Tier 1 and metro cities, on storytelling and bringing more infrastructure. All of this packed in this special edition of Out of Britain with me, Radhika Iyer. Something very exciting has happened today here in central London at the historic Guildhall. The Indian government and their representative Niti AOG has signed and exchanged agreements for what is called the UK-India Infrastructure Finance Bridge with the City of London Corporation. And even as I go into the details of what this means and how exciting this sounds for both India and the City of London, I'm going to go across to Mr. Vikram Doraiswamy, High Commissioner of India here in the UK, to ask him what this means for the bilateral ties, especially at a time when you've incessantly been answering questions regarding FTA during your tenure here.
Well, look, this is one of the important pieces of the larger relationship. There is familiarity. There is a long history of contact between India and the UK, and between finance companies, between engineering companies, businesses, etc. on both sides. What we have really wanted to be able to do is to be able to simplify and expedite the processes by which actual investment comes in at the last mile in key infrastructure projects. And frankly, this is an idea and an initiative that came from my old friend, the CEO of our Niti AOG, BVR Subramaniam, in his conversations with Chris Hayward about a year ago, a little over a year ago, in trying to see how we could create a mechanism to fix these last mile problems and to actually simplify the process and actually thereby create facilitation for investment to go into infrastructure projects. They'll give you the details, but I do want to say this, that every relationship between long-standing partners must have multiple pillars to support it. Getting the core pieces of the system, which is really finance, banks, etc., deeply involved in long-term profitable partnerships with each other, is the way in which you can ensure the relationship is truly strategic for the next 20, 30 years. Britain should see India as its best bet for its growth and opportunities ambitions. That's what this contributes to.
Sure. I take it that it's a bridge that offers sustained solutions to roadblocks that projects would be facing.
Exactly.
Thank you. Thanks so much. And I know you have to run away, so thanks very much for talking to NDTV. With me is Mr. BVR Subramanian, the CEO of Niti AOG, and Mr. Chris Hayward, the policy chairman at City of London Corporation. Mr. Doraiswamy had a good segue for me to pass to you. Tell me about the history of how you conceived this, when, and what were you thinking?
Okay, Niti AOG is the primary planning and visioning body of Government of India, and so we look at the Indian economy from all angles, from the social sectors to the infrastructure and the economic sectors and governance. And we've just prepared a vision for Government of India and looking into the future, preparing a 25-year vision plan, and it was been in the works. And while that was being done, one of the things that it throws up is that India has huge financing needs. India has a goal of becoming a developed nation by 2047, a $30 trillion economy from about $3.5 trillion now. And to do that would require a lot of actual construction of infrastructure, and this infrastructure would need a lot of funds. So when the City of London, actually the Mayor, Lord Mayor and Chris had come down to Delhi, we had a conversation. So it struck us that London could be a major source of finance, which it is for the rest of the world. I mean, a lot of Indian companies are anyway sourcing London for a lot of their financial needs. I know that a lot of our, say, solar companies, renewable energy companies, their back-end financing deals are actually all from, London institutions. So when that conversation happened, the question I asked was, but why isn't more money or capital flowing in, particularly to government-promoted projects? And it turns out that there could be a lot of issues or bottlenecks for not allowing this to happen. So we said, okay, why don't we create a mechanism in which the Niti AOG, which is the body which influences and enables government policy, and the City of London, which is kind of can coordinate with the whole institutional setup that is there in the City of London. Why don't the two of them coordinate, pick up a few marquee projects and enable funds flow and investments to happen in these marquee projects? And in the process, you resolve a lot of other bottlenecks which are there, which will then get universalized, which will be applicable to everybody, and that will kind of open the Aladdin's lamp, I would say, and the genie will be out of the bottle, and the investments would then start happening. I think the growth story of India is a fabulous one. People who know about India are probably familiar with it, but there are large parts of the world, and particularly the investor community, either are not fully familiar with the opportunities that are there or have certain doubts in their mind. I think the purpose of this bridge is actually to clarify those doubts, enable some flows to happen, and then they will crowd in more investment into India.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. I don't mean to be theatrical, but would you mind, Mr. Hayward, coming this side? And it's interesting because then you have the India background, and here we have the British background, British flag background for Mr. Subramanian. You, of course, were in Delhi many months ago, and were there any other cities that you managed to travel to?
Yes, I mean, I've been all over India, but I've been in Mumbai and Delhi. I used to actually run a business in Hyderabad myself, so I have a little bit of knowledge of running a business in India as well. And I've always had a great personal affection for India as a country, and the historical ties and the opportunities. And frankly, from the United Kingdom's point of view, with a new government here who want economic growth, we look at what India is doing and we see that we can partner with them and be beneficiaries too, and learn about how we get that economic growth. And part of this partnership will allow us, I think, to do that. And that's what I think is exciting for the City of London, because the City of London is and I keep saying it, the global financial centre. So there are all these opportunities with financial companies here, but they need to be tapped. They need to understand what is an investable proposition. And what we want to do between us is to try to clear away some of the misconceptions, clear away some of the concerns and debris, to make sure that those funds start to flow, to make sure that the very ambitious agenda which Niti AOG have set out and the Indian government has set out in terms of infrastructure investment is actually realised. So we see this as a real partnership of opportunities with benefits for both City of London and indeed, of course, massive benefits for India.
Great. Hint, hint. Former investor in Hyderabad. Maybe we could rejuvenate that partnership. Win-win, you say. What can London, which of course, as you have very effectively been telling the London story as policy chairman for years, what can London learn from cities in India, considering the key difference is India has so many cities which are bustling and so great for more investment, whereas here in the UK, everything is London-centric.
Yeah, and I think you'll find this new government will want it not to be London-centric. It'll want it to become much more United Kingdom. Growth is about United Kingdom. the southeast corner, the City of London, may be the engine room of that economic growth. And of course, we are two very different countries in population terms. You're quite right, very different countries in terms of cities, in terms of state governments, in terms of sheer geography and sheer size. But economic growth is a common aspiration of both. And as I've said many times, we've seen what's going on in India. It is a different country, but the principles of driving economic growth are the same globally, and every country today is seeking economic growth.
I'd like to add a point to that,
Yes,
just
please.
to supplement, since you asked about London and cities. Niti AOG, for example, as India grows, and we go from 3 trillion to 30 trillion, 90% of that Indian growth is going to come from cities. 25 trillion out of the $30 trillion economy will reside in cities. And then, how do you get cities to drive growth? Okay, you have a London, a lot of growth in cities in India is happening on the side. You have national policies, but where it is happening happens to be incidental. So we are actually preparing city economic plans, and we're calling it the Growth Hub Initiative. It is actually cities as growth hubs. And we are preparing economic master plans for Mumbai, Surat. So Mumbai is a tier 1 city.
Yes.
Okay, it's our financial capital, and then the second largest city in India. We have 2 tier 2 cities, which is Surat on the west coast, ancient port and trading,
And fast booming.
and it's the fastest growing urban area in India, by the way. And the east coast, Vishakhapatnam, which is one of the biggest ports on the eastern coast, and a tier 3 city, which is Varanasi. And we have prepared economic plans for them for 2030 and 2047. So take the vision for Mumbai. It's about taking the current, it's not Mumbai as a city. We have taken Mumbai with a radius of 50 kilometers because the city actually lifts the entire area. You've got in London, what do you call it, M25? So, all things that happen in London reach out to that. So we've drawn up a plan for 5 districts around Mumbai. And it's got a GDP of about 150 billion today. Want to take it to 300 billion by end of the decade, that is 2030, and take Mumbai to 1.5 trillion by 2047. A similar plan for Surat to take it to 700 billion by 2047. It's all done, ready. The state government has accepted it. We're waiting for the release. It's their work, and Niti helps them. And the East Coast, Vishakhapatnam, is in the pipeline. That is the metro project we're talking of here, under the financing bridge. That will be there. And for Varanasi, it's a tier 3 city. But a major spiritual, it's literally the Rome of India, in some ways. People see it as a holy city. But you have to understand, it's also an economic center. So we prepared a plan for that also. It's beginning from a much lower base, but it bring them to say about 200 billion in 25 years. And the growth drivers for each are different. Bombay's growth drivers would be, for example, finance, movies. It's the movie capital of India.
Yes.
It has some tourism. It'll have some high-tech industries. It's got a lot of software, gold and jewelry, gems, diamonds. That's one. But if you go to Vishakhapatnam, it'll be about petroleum, petrochemicals, manufacturing, fish. It's a major exporter of agri products. And you go to Varanasi, it's very different. You got the Ganges. It's got a huge agricultural hinterland. So the strategy is go to a place, identify the economic landscape, do some brainstorming with local people, businesses, etc. Identify growth drivers, pick up 5 growth drivers which can go up 5x or 10x, and invest in those so that you do that. This is a principle in which we have actually used the best brains in India to work on this. It's not just all inside Niti AOG. There are at least 10 organizations which have worked on that. And
India's finance ministry is heavily invested in this.
That is, then the state governments, because end of the day in India, states own cities, not the central government.
Yes.
So it's the states who are heavily invested in that. A lot of the money will come from finance ministry. A lot of the finance, if we resolve some of these things under the UKIFB, will flow to these major mega projects which will come up in cities. Because cities is not about road network. It's a lot of urban stuff, good livable cities, sustainability. Bombay has water logging every year in rain.
Yeah.
You want to be a world-class city, you need to get, if it's got to be a New York, it has to be quite different. So that's the kind of stuff we're focusing on. Next step is to go from 4 cities to 16 more. So we'll have templates for 20 cities.
I have 2 questions, and I know, Thomas, I have 1 question. Okay, Thomas, get that. India has so many points of interest. Yes, Britain is a world leader in storytelling. But it's going to be a challenge telling India's story because you won't have one headline to shout out. And like Mr. Subramanian said, there are multiple cities which offer multiple things. So mitigating that challenge and offering consultancy services to India on that front, and that's to you. And let's say 2 years from now, from today to then, what do you propose would have been achieved by this bridge? Who wants to go?
Well, look, on the first point, I mean, look, we're a developed nation, we're a developed country. It's quite true that you know, for us to some extent, some of our cities, particularly on the sustainability side, we have to undo aspects in order to create sustainability. Whereas with 90% to go in India, the opportunity to do it right and to do it sustainably is now. And so it is a very different sort of scenario in that sense. But I do think that where we have a strength is around sustainable finance products, is around thought leadership around sustainability, is around the sorts of businesses that have already invested and are working in India that are sitting on our steerco. So the opportunity of introducing and ensuring that certainly capital and projects are focused on, you know, what the investors need as well, because, you know, investors don't invest just to help out. They invest to make a return, a commercial return, for profits. And, you know, we shouldn't see profits as a dirty word. They are part of the whole business culture, the whole business proposition. So
and profits offer promotion. It offers jobs.
Of course they do, and they offer jobs as well. Absolutely. So, you know, it's going to be very interesting to see how this rolls out, the ripple effect on other aspects of our economies.
Sure. Good luck with that. And
yes, end of a year or two, we should be able to demonstrate actually a couple of projects on the ground which have been financed internationally, up to international standards. That's one. A second thing, and let me tell you, I mean, let me speak up for UK. You see, countries that are in advanced stage of development naturally will grow slower. I mean, it's a given. So there's nothing. So India growing fast is because it's in its current stage of development. That's expected. Having said that, UK has a very advanced economy. It's top gun in technology, in finance, in a lot of areas, in medicine, in healthcare. I mean, their universities, some of them are the best in the world. So there is a lot for the UK. And it's so complementary to India's needs. And so this is only meeting one part of the needs, which is finance, infrastructure, and quality of infrastructure. That's what I was mentioning. The relationship can have many such partnerships. There can be partnership. We just heard the High Commissioner mention about London, UK having the first university opening up, and if I'm not wrong, it's in Gift City in Gujarat as the first foreign campus. I actually saw that just a month ago, the campus of that university. So there could be a lot of bilateral deals on many, many other fronts. And as a leading economy on the cutting edge of knowledge, I mean, UK is not going to, you know, its future is not in being a production center. Its future is in being a knowledge center. Yeah. And I think that is going to be the basis of the relationship.
Fantastic. Right? Thank you so much, both of you gentlemen, indeed. This bridge, of course, trying to be that solution offering bridge which can identify challenges, offer solutions to those challenges, and one which India hopes to leverage from UK's experience and expertise in storytelling, and of course one where the UK can learn from India's dynamism and hunger for growth and ambition. Radhika Iyer in London, NDTV.